Wednesday. And as you know, in terms of parliamentary rules, if you are not 30 and above, then you are not called for division. Division is what gives us an opportunity to vote singularly, a person per person, in terms of a single individual vote. So after we were then 27 and the debate was concluded, it was almost obvious where the direction was headed. But I also want to say that I apologize. We could have waited up to the end, even of the third reading, and therefore no amount of explanation, even the one I'm giving, should absolve me of the blame that I ought to have done better, and I wish that I'll be a better representative of the people of Kenya, and especially also through the lesson learned in this whole process. The second thing is that I want to also thank Kenyans, because I have been very outspoken on many of these finance issues, public finance issues. And maybe the more the reason, Kenyans felt more disappointed with myself, because I was the most outspoken in terms of also giving this information to Kenyans in all platforms, including this office, the many press conferences, and also in most of the forums that I go, I have been speaking about these issues, both the ones that are contained in the budget, but also the ones that are contained in the finance bill. But the reason I was starting that statement is to thank Kenyans, because even whatever we do in parliament and whatever length we go, we are also able to achieve a lot also out here. Because as a member of parliament, as a leader, I should use all the platforms available for us to have the best idea take over in terms of the running of the affairs of our economy in Kenya. And to single just a few, which I'm very proud of, is that, as you remember, in the month of December, there was an imminent increment of school fees for our day secondary schools. The principals had already received circulars, but I was able, together with many other Kenyans, to stand up, and that issue was shelved. And I'm very proud about the bravery and also the courage of Kenyans on that issue. As you also know, I've been on this issue of Safaricom sale. And I want to start by saying that I attended the committee that was handling that issue. I actually gave more than 30 proposals on the sale of Safaricom, because I wanted Kenyans to receive the best value for money for our assets. As you all know, the issue came to Parliament, and because, as you are aware, without hiding our faces in the sand about the nature of Parliament as it is, the issue passed. We were actually just a few of us in Parliament debating and giving contrary views on that issue. It passed, and after passing, I am glad that many other Kenyans took up the same points that we have given and went to the judiciary, and the judiciary temporarily halted. But I'm disappointed that even after giving so many glaring areas that we could have corrected, that our judiciary actually gave a through pass yesterday on the same. But we had done our bit, and I also thank the other Kenyans who took the same issues that we were raising in the National Assembly to pursue it in the judiciary. Many issues we've been talking about, I also cite about debt. We've been very outspoken about debt, because one of the single issues that our country faces is the issue of the national debt. And it will come to bite us soon if we do not rectify our trade, and especially of borrowing. And I am glad that other institutions, including the IMF and the World Bank, have taken up our voices, amplified them, and they are telling the government that we cannot continue to borrow, and especially outside the book, what is called off the book borrowing. And I'm very glad that even in the recent Washington meetings, called spring meetings in Washington, the Bretton Woods institutions amplified the same voice, and the government was put into order that they have to include every borrowing into one book. The same thing we've been speaking, because if we do it now and we don't correct, it will come to hurt us later in the future. However, I also want to face some issues head on on some of the feedback that I've received from Kenyans. And I want to start by saying, as you all know, it has been a very bitter pill for me to swallow for the last 1 week. But most of the bitter pills, many times, they also give us reprieve and they make us learn and become better. And I want to appreciate all Kenyans for all the overwhelming feedback. One of the issues that I saw raised was about previous absence in matters that touches on or matters that are important to our country. And I want to say that, to my recollection, in terms of all the finance bill debates and votes, and I'm not trying to prove anyone wrong, I have been participating in all the debates and votes, including the year 2025, the debate about finance bill. The other issue that has been raised is the issue of impeachment. And I have seen, of course, that being attached to what is currently on the table. And I also want to give my view on that. And I would want to request anyone to tell me whether they have actually ever heard the second deputy president complaining about that impeachment vote. And the reason you don't hear is because, as you all know, and majority of you in front of me have covered other impeachments, including for governors. Any vote that requires a 2/3 majority, you do not win it by voting. You win it by denying the 2/3 majority in the House. That is what you have seen all the governors do. If you have 30 MCAs, you make sure they do not turn up, and the agenda collapses. And the reason they do that, and has been happening, is that there is still a huge possibility that a person who actually came to save you will be brought along the way, as it happened even in this particular case. So whatever I have done and tried to do it in all good faith, because there is actually nothing to hide about that, but I thought it is important that I address it at this particular time. As I go to the close, and we'll say a few things in Swahili. Yesterday, I got a call from one of my friends. It's called Councillor Johi. And I have received also many concerns from my friend Abdi, my friend Ajiki, my friend Dunstan from Nambale, and many other Kenyans, as I've seen their feedback on the social media. And what Councillor Johi told me is, Jana, and I'll put it in Swahili, hiyo mambo umeitana kesho, hata kama unatuambia mambo ya finance bill, hiyo ni sawa, lakini pia tunataka utueleze mambo yako ya kisiasa. And I have seen that feedback, overwhelming feedback from Kenyans. And I want to appreciate that there are many Kenyans who would want to hear our view on that. And on the same call, before I address the main issue, another person, actually not that one, another person called me. I've been having many conversations with Kenyans. One Kenyan concerned told me, you need to clear some of these things that are being done by, of course, in the political space. Because as when you are vulnerable, the way I have been vulnerable for the last 1 week, even the political competitors, of course, they get a field day and they want to maximize on it. So one of them told me, hey, you heard what Junet said? Then I asked him, what did he say? He said something in effect, then I went and checked, maybe you have seen. Then I asked the same person, did you believe Junet? The person told me no. Then I told him that that question has been answered, that it is not important for me to respond to such an issue where even Kenyans themselves, they know some of the people raising them, they do not trust them by themselves because of how they have handled other matters before. And therefore, happily, I'll go to the other points without belaboring that one, because it's obvious, and I think you all know that when you are vulnerable, watu watachukua hiyo nafasi pia kukulima kisiasa. And I don't blame them, because makosa ni yangu. The things I've been saying, to put it very plainly, especially matters to do with the economy and the running of the economy. There is no way you can do those things when you are supporting the government. It is obvious. Because if you are doing that, then you just give them your views. So I hope now with clarity is that I keep on giving alternative voices even in public and parliament. Because as Kenyans are very quite aware, we no longer support the government of the day and how it runs the affairs of the economy. But of course, people would want more, like some of the calls I've been having. And there is a person I asked this question. Between the issues that we've been handling that are very weighty, for example, the ones that I have cited, I have been thinking it is also important for us to have people who are soberly looking at such issues that are far-reaching to the welfare of our country, Kenya. The second thing is that, and I'm addressing this issue of many people and Kenyans on social media and also calls, WhatsApp conversations, people are telling me, sasa lazima utuambie msimamo wako wa kisiasa. I have stated one categorically, which I'm sure you were all aware even before you came here, that there is no way I can speak the same things I speak about if I am still in government. But I also want to repeat, I cannot also blame anyone who would want me to keep on explaining the same matter, and especially the people in the political space, because they are doing their job as politicians to keep you on toes. Now, the biggest conversation is, which I've had in terms of feedback, then tell us, where are you? And I want to say this with a lot of humility. I was part of the team that campaigned around the country in the year 2022. And most of the times when I try to give alternative views and to criticize, the message that always comes to me loudly is, but you are part of these people. It is you who came to convince us. And out of that learning, probably, it has made me to be more cautious and reflective. I have taken a lot of time to look at the political scenario in the country. And I'm still taking that time, because I would request and plead with Kenyans to understand my perspective, that the single most important decision that we are going to make as a country is that decision about how do we want our country to proceed. And how we want our country to proceed is bound up together with who are these individuals who will come together and do this job. And that is what the question have to answer most of the time, maybe inconclusively. The reason I am taking time and I have taken time is because for me, this decision is not about my political convenience. It is about what Kenya will become. If I'm to be selfish and inward looking, I live in Kenya. I know what I need to say, and I become a sensation politically immediately. We have been on that path before. If I want to engage in a popularity contest, I know exactly what I need to say even today. But the question I want to ask ourselves as Kenyans, after that, where do we leave Kenyans? And I have been working on something for the last many, many months. Something around that question. Objectively, in terms of the kind of Kenya we would want to have. Because it is the kind of Kenya that we would want to have that then would dictate what kind of team do we need to do this job. So I want to plead with Kenyans so that I am not pushed in the situation of the moment as the storm has been ravaging on me. It is too weighty a decision to make, and especially when there is a storm. Not that I don't know what we need to do and who we need to work with, but in terms of the deliverables to the people of Kenya. And I would request, so that I do not get into the same ditch I have been into, where I speak and I'm reminded that I was part of a certain team back then. I request Kenyans to give me 3 to 4 weeks to share my views, specific views, on that issue of political formations and the things that we need to do in terms of our Republic of Kenya going forward. I know that is underwhelming because everyone would want me to call the press and just say one thing or the other. But I am convinced, because I have experience of having been on the same path before, I am convinced with time that Kenyans that are giving us this patience will vindicate us and will be vindicated. That the kind of decision that we must make must be far-reaching in terms of what our country needs and where we need to go, and then we try to see who are these people who would come together to do that job. And in the intervening period, I'll still continue to do my job. Pahali serikali inakosea, nitaendelea kufanya hiyo mambo ya kuongea in good faith.
In good faith?
Because some of these issues to me are very important than me appearing in a rally. Appearing in a rally is important, that is fine, but I feel there are things that I need also as a leader to be sure of, to put in place, to agree with Kenyans, so that we also can be able to be very elaborate on that matter. As I come to the conclusion, niseme kidogo kwa Kiswahili baadaye. Kwa bahati ni kwamba viongozi wengi Kenya, hata wale wako katika opposition, and especially those ones are my friends. I talk to almost all of them. Basically, almost all of them. And the majority of them are my friends. But I'm also convinced that the decision that I should take must never be based on friendship to this person or the next. Must be a decision that I can be able to defend for many more years to come. I do not want to be in a situation
tunafanya tena enda tena